first of the Sunday matches then, and it was at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United against Crystal Palace, a full house to see the Blades open their account. Team news, well, Zaha was in from the start for Palace, no surprise at that, the teams were very much as we expected. Hodgson, the Palace manager, he's now celebrating 43 years as a manager, absolutely fantastic, coming up to his 73rd birthday. And that's probably sums up the highlights. No, I'm joking, but the first half, not too many clear-cut chances, it has to be said. The Blades seem to be pretty compact in defence. Palace, of course, had the players that can turn it on. Zaha and Townsend always presenting problems, but they were pretty well handled by the Sheffield defence, and United are definitely a compact unit, and they work together as a team, and they make nice little sort of triangles of passes, and they certainly look that they deserve to be in the Premier League. But as I say, chances were at a premium. The tackling was pretty harsh as well. Benteke, although he's an aerial threat, he did very little, and of course he's got very little support. No surprise that it was goalless at the break, and then I think Wilder must have given his troops a kick up the backside, because within 2 minutes of the restart, the breakthrough, and it was a really nice slick passing movement by Sheffield United that eventually set up Lundstrom, who placed it in the corner to put the Blades one up. After that, of course, the more emphasis on Palace to up the tempo, and I suppose they did to an extent. Townsend had an effort pushed wide, and Zaha had a couple of runs, but there was very little clear-cut chances that Palace created, and they grew more and more frustrated, and their build-up play became slower and slower, and it became pretty easy for the Sheffield defence to keep them at bay, and basically the clock ran down, and Sheffield United got their first win by 1-0. As for man of the match, I'm not really too sure who to give it to. Probably collectively the Sheffield United defence. So there we are. Final score: Sheffield United 1, Crystal Palace 0. So to the second match on Sunday. It was at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea versus Leicester. Of course, it was the first home fixture for their new manager, Frank Lampard. He's idolised in these parts, and you can see it all over the ground. And all he needed was a win. Team news anyway, Pulisic and Giroud were in from the start, and they also had Conte back in from the start as well. For Leicester, left back Chilwell couldn't make it. He's got a problem with his hip, and Fuchs substituted at left back. Right from the start, Chelsea on the front foot and really building up a head of steam. An early Giroud header set up Pedro, and his volley went just wide. And then Mount got in the act. He caused a problem for Schmeichel with a shot, and that was all in the first 6 minutes. And it was Mount again on 7 minutes who managed to rob Ndidi of the ball just outside the box. He was far too strong, and he got his foot shot away, and it went into the corner, and Chelsea were 1-up. There was another chance for Mount from a header, and another great move from Chelsea, linking beautifully, set up Kante, and his effort was just wide from Giroud's flick. So we got to the break, really. Chelsea deservedly in front 1-0. Leicester weren't out of it by any shadow of the but they seemed to lack a little bit of self-confidence. However, Rodgers must have got at him, because they came out in the second half with a completely different proposition, and Chelsea looked a little bit less purposeful, and Maddison started to run the show in midfield, and it was him who had half a chance put through, and he managed to go round the keeper but run out of room, and his cross couldn't find a colleague. Much more purposeful, the Foxes, however. Fuchs was getting down the left flank, and a dangerous cross was steered away for a corner, and from that corner, Ndidi, who'd been guilty of the error which led to Chelsea's goal, unmarked on the 6-yard box, after a spell of pressure from the Foxes, headed in, and it was pretty poor defending, to be perfectly honest, but Leicester were level 1-1. After that, Addison had a chance to put them in front, and to be perfectly frank, Tielemans' drive went close, and Vardy also had an effort that was close, and as we approached the final whistle, there was really only one team likely to win it, and that was Leicester. But as it so often happens, it ends up as a 1-1 draw. I suppose honours even. Both managers fairly content with that. So final score then at Stamford Bridge: Chelsea 1, Leicester 1. So the final fixture in week 2 was the Monday night match at Molyneux, Wolves versus Manchester United. James made his debut. Otherwise, United were relatively unchanged, and they got off to a good start. Early chance, Rashford on the left created havoc. His cross got very near to Martial, but he just couldn't get a touch. It was certainly a warning to Wolves. That was on 10 minutes. On 26 minutes, though, a lovely linking passing movement between United created a chance in the blocks for Martial, and his effort hit the roof of the bar and went in, and well deserved. A great finish by the Frenchman, who's looking far improved in his new role as the target man. And on 27 minutes then, United were in front. In fact, things were looking pretty good for United, and they could have had a second later in the half in added time when Bennett made an error, but Martial just couldn't convert that one. Nevertheless, United good value for their 1-0 lead. Santo must have given them a G up at half time, because Wolves came out and they were full of themselves with that beautiful interlinking passing moment. On 53 minutes, a free kick, and Jimenez hit the post, and that was a warning, because just a minute later, from outside the box, Neves glided a delightful shot in off the crossbar. It was unstoppable, and that was 1-1. After that, the game settled. I only saw highlights, but on the hour, Cody managed to bring down Pogba, who'd linked up nicely to get in the box. It looked a bit soft, to be honest, but you know what Pogba's like. He's very theatrical, and to my surprise, and probably most of the United faithful, he got up and decided to take the penalty himself. Now, when United won 4-0 against Arsenal the previous week, Rashford had been the penalty taker and he was successful. Anyway, Pogba's arrogance as usual, and as I suggested might happen with this man, his ego gets in the way, and his poor effort was easily saved by Patricio. And that was about it, really. It sort of went along to the finish with neither side really having a clear-cut chance to win it. So the final score at Molyneux then was Wolves 1, Manchester United 1. So that's week 2 done and dusted. Some interesting fixtures. I must admit I was a bit disappointed in the matches that I saw in their entirety. Certainly the Sheffield United Crystal Palace was hardly a spectacular effort, and Arsenal relatively comfortable against Burnley, but it didn't reach the heights that I would have liked. Highlights from City and Spurs are where I probably should have stayed up late to watch it, but it starts here at about 12:30 at night, that late kickoff, and we've worked the following morning. It's just out of the question. So after 2 rounds then, who's at the top? Well, Liverpool are there with Arsenal, the only teams who've got 2 wins from 2 games. There's a string of teams on 4 points, including the 2 Manchester clubs. Brighton are there, so are Sheffield United and Bournemouth. Down at the bottom, Villa, Newcastle and Watford are holding them all up. So this week, what am I going to choose for my goal of the week? Well, I have to say that I thought that some of the goals were really first rate. Aubameyang's was good. Also, I liked the 2 City goals, particularly the work of De Bruyne, and obviously the 2 goals on Monday night, Martial's and Neves, spectacular efforts from outside the box. But I'm going to give it to the Finnish superstar from Norwich. His first goal, Pukki's first goal, that tremendous volley that rocketed into the net. That's my goal of the week, and we'll see you next week.